We've got a call from Andrea in Sussex. She says that her daughter's been missing for 5 years and hasn't had any publicity in recent times. And I would love to just go to her now and just really, let's try and work to change that. Let's give this some publicity. Andrea, thanks very much for calling. What happened to your daughter? At least, what do you know?
Yeah, hi. My daughter, Georgina Garcella, she went missing 5 years ago in Worthing in Sussex. She left my home that morning. She was going to the town. She had some things to do, and we never ever saw her again. She was seen on CCTV at 10 a.m. and again at 4 a.m. that day, and that was the last ever sighting ever. In 2019, Sussex Police recorded her case as a no-body homicide with absolutely no evidence at all, nothing, but they still recorded her as a no-body homicide. And it's, I just find it really, I've been inundated with people contacting me, asking me why Georgina's never had any publicity, because we've actually had to fight and hound, media stations and sites to try and get them to, even mention Georgina, and just find like the imbalance in coverage and priority. I'm
seeing a lot of that online, actually, just people questioning, asking, why is this lady, mum of two, getting so much media and press coverage when there are so many other missing people missing before Nicola, who didn't get near as much. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. I'm not necessarily saying it's right at all, but I just wanted to ask Andrea, did you get any kind of media or press coverage at the start of your daughter going missing?
All we had was the police media lady. She came out to the house and did a little video on her mobile phone, and that went onto the police website.
And that's it. You didn't get any local newspaper press or regional TV news?
It took a while to get that. We had to keep putting them out ourselves. I had a friend who just kept constantly bombarding them with emails and texts and things like that. It wasn't until we did a vigil a few months later, I think then the local newspaper came and sort of covered that up. And it wasn't until her birthday the following year and the year anniversary where the sort of regional reporter came and did it. But everybody else, my daughter contacted GMTV at the time and asked them if they could create awareness, and they said they didn't do missing people, pets or things. She did contact somebody else, I think it was Mark Williams Thomas, and he did get us on GMTV 2 months later. And then after that, everything we've done has been, through our own, just constantly working at it, trying to get anything, but we've never, it's just like really, it is overwhelming seeing all this, how one case gets all the publicity and everything, because, all of our cases, all of our missing loved ones have gone missing under suspicious circumstances. Georgina left my house. She's a mummy to 2 children as well.
Sorry.
She left the home, and we've got absolutely no idea. The police had no idea what happened to her, and all sorts of things. There was 27 police failures in this case in an internal review over a year later, where they lost 9 segments of CCTV footage from the town.
Unbelievable.
And it's just awful. And I keep seeing it. I want to have faith in the police and what they're doing, because that's what, you think that's their job and that's what they do. But you constantly see all these other stories, and it really sort of lets you down, and you just think it's not just me. It's happening all the time. And
how old are Georgina's daughters? How old are they at the time? How old are they now?
They're 2 boys. They were 6 and 7 at the time, and they're now 12 and 13. And they're still waiting for mummy. They don't understand it. Even at this age now, they don't understand that mummy might not come home. They look out the window and say, "Do you think mummy will come home today?"
Well, Andrea, I'm going to bring in Peter. Hopefully, he can give some advice. He's a former Metropolitan Police detective, but he still very much actively is working in the area of crime. I also just want to say that you're 100% right, and indeed other people who question why is one story the media become obsessed with and other stories that just doesn't get the same type of coverage. It's an issue that I have within the newsrooms when I'm saying, look, we've got to make sure we cover other stories just as equally. But I also got to say, to be fair, to a certain respect, in terms of the media attention this is getting, it's kind of because of questions over the investigation. We don't have those full details, but now a police force is facing quite intense scrutiny. Hopefully this could be something which is positive in terms of the way police forces go on to investigate other missing people. Who knows? And because of that, actually, that is actually generating and garnering more attention. But let me bring in former Metropolitan Police Officer Police Detective even Peter Bletchley. Peter, what do you make of Andrea and Georgina's story?
I was aware of Georgina's case because somebody contacted me this morning and asked me if I could help. Unfortunately, my reply was that I'm so committed on 2 other cases which hoover up all my time, together with my media commitments, that I didn't want to spread myself too thinly. So
this is working as a private investigator?
As an investigative writer, which is what I am. You know, I go out and research and write about things. I can feel and hear the pain in her mum's voice. You know, it must be so devastating to not have the answers. It's the not knowing that must be awful. I hope perhaps that Sussex Police are listening. I hope that some local, regional and national interest can be garnered for Georgina's case, that the police can perhaps reopen the investigation, although I won't personally hold my breath. And once again, we hear about failings in an investigation, which of course is very disappointing and cuts across the whole issue of public trust in our police, which we know is at catastrophically low levels.
I've got to say, Andrea, we don't necessarily, we haven't given Sussex Police the right of reply. We don't know necessarily if indeed there were any particular failings. However, what Peter Bletchley is saying in terms of, it's just so upsetting that I even have to say this, but the way the press works, media works, is they can jump on the bandwagon, right? So when they see that conversations are being had, big conversations, right, there is public interest, people are getting involved and engaging, maybe this could be a point to reach back out. In fact, this is what Peter was pointing to, reach back out to regional press, maybe go back to those people who've managed to get you press and coverage before, and see, you know, off the back of this high-profile disappearance of Nicola Bulley, maybe there's a way that we can start having conversations and looking into maybe there are other police failings that should be re-looked into. And
could I add, there are a lot of podcasts out there, and some podcasters gain a lot of traction and a lot of attention by focusing on unsolved cases, missing persons and the like. So I would urge you to, you know, get on the internet, have a look around, just put in true crime podcasts and many of them will come up, and you might be able to garner some interest from one of those. That's a really, really good shout. You know, when we talk about true crimers and armchair detectives, they're getting a lot of shade. Lancashire Police have said, no, these are bad people, or they're messing up the investigation. And indeed, there's a strong case that they could be. But I wanted to get out there. There are actually some very good investigators, journalists, podcasters who've actually brought out some miscarriages of justice and found justice, overturned wrongful convictions. So there are some good ones out there. Seek them out, you know, go on to some of the amazing podcast providers, go on Spotify, go and search. You can go, I think Amazon Prime do a few podcasts on Netflix. There are some real big high profile podcasters, true crimers, and actually they've been amazing. They've turned things around. So I just didn't want to come on here and just throw shade on that area. But Andrea, thank you so much for your call. Good luck to you. I really hope you find Georgina for the sake of yourself and, of course, her little boys. And Peter, thank you so much. You weren't expecting a call like that. Thank you so much for coming on, talking about Nicola Bulley and also responding to Andrea as well. Not at all. I've just got a heavy heart now because